What's happening, folks? James Hoff here. Have you heard of the RERAW 100? With no more than 100 agents, we're focused on action-based accountability. Look, no two agents are alike, and I'm not on a mission to put all of them in the same box. Members of this group benefit from regular accountability to the actions that are determined to best fit their unique personality and brand, allowing you to just be you and teaching you how to build a successful business around it. It includes group coaching and accountability, a 228-page tracking journal, access to previous coaching calls, and much, much more. To join this exclusive group of agents, you can head over to RERAW.com/100. Again, that's www.RERAW.com/100. One more time, RERAW.com/100.
Looking to take you and your real estate business to the next level? You're in the right place. Laying foundations for real estate success? This is the No Fluff, No BS podcast about real estate for real estate agents and other industry professionals looking to up their game. Unfiltered short-form sales meetings, interviews with agents from every walk of life, and ramble sessions about everything real estate. Welcome to a new mindset. You are listening to RERAW. And now, introducing your host, James Hoff.
What's happening, folks, and welcome back from the weekend. We've got another weekly sales meeting here on RERAW. Thank you so much for caring enough about your personal and professional growth and development. Greatly appreciate you being here. I hope you get as much out of these meetings as I do. We're on the clock, so let's get rocking. I want you to think about what kind of week you had this past week. Did you have a plan? On a scale from 1 to 10, how productive were you? If you didn't have a plan, think about why. If you had a plan, then give yourself a score on a scale from 1 to 10. How closely did you follow that plan? Did you protect your time? Take a minute and think about that. All right, well, welcome back. We are talking today about having a game plan in place on a shorter term basis with trackable actions that you're committed to taking to achieve your longer term goals. Whether those longer term goals are weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, whatever. Breaking down your game plan into smaller, shorter segments, daily, weekly, with trackable actions that you can be held accountable to by yourself or by perhaps an accountability partner if that's important to you. See, a couple weeks ago, we talked about setting multiple goals so you don't fall into that level of complacency. But the problem that we have after that is if you are just in this free-for-all mode, running 100 miles a minute in every different direction to try and just do whatever you can, running around like that chicken with your head cut off with no intentional action plan in place, it's really hard to achieve those goals. I should be able to come up to you and say, hey, so what is it that you're doing to hit 100 grand this year? How are you going to do that? You should have very specific and trackable actions in place. So that's what we're going to talk about today. This isn't rocket science, folks. So let's just kind of go through this together and get you back out there. So today, we're going to have, by the end of this meeting, a plan of action, but not just that, but a trackable plan of action. What actions do you have to take to achieve your goal? What very specific actions do you have to take to achieve your goal? I want you to just reflect. There's no guilt here. It's just a question. I just want you to reflect for a moment. Do you or have you been just flying with no direction, or are you very specific and intentional with your energy and actions? We usually, even if we have taken specific and intentional actions, we usually have room to improve. So if you're already doing that, pat yourself on the back for a minute, but I want you to then evaluate where can you get better? How committed were you to the time blocks? Did you protect your time that you allocated to certain actions and tasks this week? If not, then where can you get better? You need to make daily, weekly commitments so that you can achieve your goals. You need to commit to your goals. In fact, more important than that, you need to commit to your actions. If you commit to actions, then your goals will be more attainable because actions turn goals into realities. Here's what I want you to write down. And my gosh, if you're driving or if you can't catch a pen and paper right now, then just don't write this down and come back to this later, but stick it in the back of your mind. I want you to actually grab a notebook and maybe grab something that you can just do this weekly in, right? If you don't have a notebook, then grab a scratch piece of paper and then go get a notebook that you can do this every week so you have your own weekly reviews. And I want you to write down your commitments. Between now and the next RERAW weekly sales meeting, so 1 week from today, what are you committed to? How many phone calls? Write the actual number. How many calls are you committed to making? Are you going to make 100 calls this week? Is that going to be 20 calls a day, or are you going to do it all in one day? Of those calls, how many calls are you committed to making to your sphere? Some of you might even be more serious than that, and it's not about how many numbers you dial, but how many conversations you have, because you'll dial however many numbers you need to dial to have how many conversations. How many actual conversations are you committed to having? Now, if you commit to the conversation, I commend you, because then it's not about punching through those numbers. It's about having real and solid conversations. It might take you 150 calls instead of 100, but that's okay, because you had conversations that mattered. How many conversations are you committed to? How many of those conversations are going to be with prospects, with cold calls, canceled, expired, FISBOs, whatever? How many of those conversations are going to be with your sphere? How many letters are you committed to? Handwritten notes are you committed to putting in the mail each day this week? Here's a free one for you. Go on Facebook or on Instagram, whatever. Most of these social media platforms, Facebook is the best example, will tell you whose birthday it is today. Are you committed to saying happy birthday? And not the little HBD thing, but like a genuine and authentic happy birthday, thought out, heartfelt, to everybody whose birthday it is each day. That's a very specific and intentional action that takes next to no time. You can do it while you're laying in bed, waking up in the morning. You can wish people a happy birthday and just get back in front of them. What a great excuse to reach out to somebody. And how wonderful does it make them feel? Then you can circle back in a couple weeks. How was your birthday? I'd love to get together. Can I buy you a coffee? Can we go out for a drink? So think about something that's a great action. How many handwritten notes? How many handwritten birthday cards? How many letters? If you farm, how many postcards are you sending out and how frequently? How many people are you committed to taking to coffee or to lunch or to dinner this week? And how many past clients are you committed to dropping in on or reaching out to or making some kind of contact, some touch to that sphere? And then here's the next level that you've got to do now. It's not just about the calls and the conversations, but get bold, people. Start setting a goal for a committed number of appointments that you're going to go on this week. How many new buyer consultations are you committed to creating this week? How many new listing appointments are you going to go on? And get even more bold, get even more specific. How many new listing contracts are you going to sign this week? How many new escrows are you committed to opening this week? Folks, if you start getting this intentional and this specific with your plans, then you have something that's trackable. And here's what's nice. If you find after Q1 or Q2 or at the end of the year that you didn't achieve your goal, then you can go back and look now at each week, because this is a new paper you'd fill out, a new page each week. Write your commitments down, and then a week later, you do your self-evaluation. How many calls did I actually make? How many conversations did I actually have? How many past clients did I actually contact? How many appointments did I actually have? How many new listings did I take? How many new escrows did I open? Right now, you can actually go back and give yourself a score. You can actually see where those holes are. And if you've achieved your numbers every week and you still didn't hit your goal at the end of the year, then maybe you're not setting your commitments high enough. You haven't been committed to enough conversations, to enough appointments. Are the conversations you're having not meaningful enough because you're just going through the motions, but you're not actually asking questions and probing and nurturing those contacts? So every week we have these sales meetings, and obviously every week we're not having the exact same conversation, but every week, and this is where an accountability partner might be good for you, unless you can let this notebook hold you accountable. Every week you can open that book and really judge yourself on how well you did. How well did you stick to that plan? And then here's the nice part. And again, I emphasize that this is not to kick yourself and to make yourself feel bad. It's about self-evaluation. You can look at your list. You can look at your commitments that you wrote down, your plan of action. And if you didn't hit your numbers, you need to identify why. Was there an act of God? Did you get terribly sick and you were bedridden? Or did you just get lazy and have a rough day that you didn't feel like punching through because nobody told you had to, and so you just took the day off and took it easy? Were you in the wrong mindset? Did you get discouraged? Were you too critical of yourself? Did you let your fears get too present in your mind and derail you? Did you have too many side conversations at the office? Did you spend 3 hours on the phone having a conversation with someone that should have taken 20 minutes? You know? Did you protect the time that you blocked out for the activities that you committed to? See, this isn't rocket science, folks. It's just about being dedicated and committed enough and willing to hold yourself accountable to the actions that it's going to take to achieve your goals. See, the goals are pretty. The goals are always pretty, right? It's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to make $100,000 this year. I'm going to make $200,000 this year. I'm going to make $1 million. Great. That's great. And it feels great to say, yeah, I'm going to be a millionaire this year. Great. Good for you. How? Answer that question. How are you going to do that? And when you can start answering that question, you start having these consistencies in your routine, consistencies in the actions that you're taking to achieve the goal, then you'll start seeing real results. You're setting real goals. If you want real results, then you need to take actual, real, specific, and intentional action. So that's the basic message. That's how easy it is. So if you are not the kind of person who can be held accountable to what you write down because it's just not enough for you to put it in a book, then I want you to find somebody at your office or somebody maybe who's not even in real estate. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be your spouse, could be your best friend, could be a sibling, could be your parents. Give somebody your commitments. If you can't, if it's just beyond you right now, that's to hold yourself just to the book, and you need to engage and involve somebody else in this, that's fine. But find somebody else that you can give these commitments to, that you can touch base with for 15, 20 minutes once a week and really evaluate yourself and go over where were your shortcomings, how can you do better. You know, one thing we did at one of the brokerages I was at is we would find other agents that were doing similar business to us, and we would hold one another accountable. So there'd be anywhere from 3 to 5 of us in a room, and we would announce our commitments to one another. And then the next week we would get into the room, and you know, sometimes it'd be, oh well, I didn't do as well as I wanted to this week because I decided to take a day off and go to Disneyland. Well, that's fine. Did you make up for it another day? No, I didn't. Why didn't you schedule that Disney trip in there before? Well, it was impromptu. Okay, but that doesn't get you off the hook for your commitments, right? You still have to stay committed. You have to fulfill your responsibilities and your obligations. This is still your job. This is still what you promised you would do so that you could achieve the goals that you set for yourself. Be fair to you and the goals that you set for yourself, and be willing to take action. A plan without action means nothing. Intention means nothing. It's the actions that prove the truth to your intentions and your plans. Well, I intended to make this many calls. Yeah, but did you? Because if you didn't, then it doesn't matter if your intentions were good. It matters if your actions were good. You have to start with a good intention, but the action has to follow, or the goal doesn't get achieved. It's very simple. So every single week, I want you to open your book. You should actually be looking at it all through the week because that's how you're keeping track of your actions. But at the end of every week, whatever the end of your week is, some of you it's Sunday, some of you it's Saturday, some of you it's Monday, I want you to open that book and I want you to give yourself a score 1 to 10. If it's a 10, then you should just have the most successful business ever. There's always room to improve. And I just want you to do a quick self-evaluation. Take a look and see where you can make adjustments and modifications to your actions, to your plans. Did you set your action goals high enough? Did you make your commitments high enough? Or did you just give yourself the easy way out? I'm only going to make 1 call a day because that's easy. Or did you challenge yourself? Did you push yourself? It's okay if you didn't get the number of listings you committed to, but understand why. Is it because you need to up the ante on your actions? Okay. So those are the types of questions I want you committed to thinking about this week. All right. And I'm kicking this dog because this is an important one. This is super, super key. Keep your mindset positive and strong. Make sure that when you evaluate what you're doing and how productive you're being, that you're being honest and fair, but keep a positive mindset. This is a practice that is designed to keep you from getting too far off course. Because if you had a garbage week, then that's okay. You only had one garbage week before you redirected and got back on track. Okay? Simple as that. Folks, I'm committed to keeping to 20 minutes or less because I respect your time. You have been listening to our weekly RERAW sales meeting. I am your host, James Hoff. You need to remember something. Real agents work. You must be one of them. Have an amazing week out there in the field, and we will talk to you at the next sales meeting.